Hello, everybody. My name is Brody Ford. I write about software companies, and it seems like this year I keep hearing about investment in customer support technology. I think we've all experienced it too. I think when you look at your phones, you order stuff, it seems like really increasingly these processes are automated, and really excited to hear today how you all are thinking about this. So I think the way I always love to start these off is just kind of give us one fun example of how you're using technology to improve the customer experience. And when you do that, just give us kind of an intro of what you do at your organization. So I'll start with you, Nicole.
Perfect. So I work at AT&T and I run customer care for our mass markets broadband and wireless products. One of the things that our customers really want from us is proactive customer experiences where we can resolve their products and services in those ways. And an example of where we're doing this is in our broadband outage and out-of-service condition space. And what we're doing is we're basically taking AI and data, and we're creating an incident management system that allows us to bring together insights from our network alarms, information from the heartbeat of the devices in the customer's house, operational data points. And we then are able to automate processes to dispatch technicians proactively to resolve service issues, while at the same time being able to communicate with our customers to let them know that we know they're in those service conditions. And ultimately, if they need to take part in that process, you use digital technology to wrap around the whole thing so that they can take the specific actions that matter themselves. Really powerful.
That's great. Yeah, catching the outages before someone has to call 30 times. Yeah. All right, Sriram, what about you?
Yeah, so why don't I give you examples actually of customers using technology from IBM to do the kinds of things that Nicole is talking about. So interestingly, customer service is probably the area with the maximum practical implementation adoption of AI technology. We know it's going to have a lot of impact, but we see this as one of the most areas with maximum immediate traction and interest. And this is a geographically valid statement across the globe and across industries. So a couple of examples. Bank of Bradesco. They have about 65 million customers. And they work with us to enable us to teach their technology Portuguese to essentially answer a lot of the questions that they face. And today, our technology services responds to the standard email where they can respond quickly right away, automated response. It attends over 200,000 calls every month, fields calls, empowers their assistants, their experts to deliver personalized service. It's one example. An example in a different industry, CVS here, when they needed to quickly roll out and reach customers during the pandemic on everything from health advice and tips to vaccination to pharmacy visits, worked with us to quickly deploy a brand new system because obviously there wasn't need for a COVID automated assistance systems before 2019. And so it speaks to not just the importance, but the fact that you have to roll this out, adapt it quickly with your business. And my final example will be, I'll take a banking industry. Credit Mutual has been working with us to arm, again, both their expert advisors as well as automated systems. And the characteristics is very similar to what Nicole said. They want timely, personalized, quick response so that they can quickly move on and be effective. And that's what independent of industries, I think every customer want, and our clients would like to deliver to their customers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Samuel, that's you.
I totally agree with that. And it's so funny. And first off, I'm honored that Popeyes made it to this panel. I think next year maybe we should cater the event because, to be around innovators like this. But it's absolutely right. I think as you think about our business, we bucket technology into what can help the consumer and what can really help the team member.
Yep.
And the team members in our restaurants, they're the folks who are trying to make their lives easier. We're trying to get, our customers are our team members often. And so we're trying to make their lives easier through back of house technologies, automated fryers, things that'll just make that experience easier so they can serve the guests better. And when you can serve the guests better, then you have this perfect storm of really great repeat trial and visitation and great sales.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so we've all had the experience of the customer experience being improved by technology, but we've also been caught with an automated chat bot. We've all said, let me get an associate, please. So how do you make sure when using automated systems for customers that they're actually happy, Nicole?
Yeah, so I've definitely been involved in frustrated automated systems, and I would say some of our customers are too, which is why we're actually investing to really make a more robust system that we have today. And I think that the discussion that we're having on technology is perfect because it allows you to make automated systems more conversational, more natural, with more of a conversational tone. You can also use NLP and NLU, sort of technologies that allow you to make them smarter. So customers, who use simple chatbots today, sometimes they can only get one thing answered. But a lot of times in lifecycle journeys, they want multiple things answered. So being able to say, well, why did my bill change? And okay, well, I'll make that payment and do that effortlessly, I think is super important as you think about how you can make these things better.
Well, I think it's very well said. And I'd add to that I think it's part of recognizing that you're on a journey. So I think picking the products, the portions of your business, and it's marrying that technology, the NLP, the NLU, and the AI, to also getting your backends right. Because often a bad customer experience is about, we've all been in situations where you explain the same thing to somebody 8 times. But I just told that other person. I actually typed the same thing in my chatbot. And it's often less about whether the AI can figure it out. But if those systems don't talk to each other, you're not going to get a good experience. So I think it's about marrying backend maturity, getting your data right, and then layering the AI on top. And it's going to be a journey. But I think picking the right products, right subsets to start with, all of the examples that I was giving you are all people, companies that work with us on a journey. It was never about like a one shot. You said, I'm going to pick, incident management. They picked, one portion of their business and then grow it. So then you know what you have to get right for it not to be a painful experience, as you said.
Yeah, I have to agree with it, but it's totally different in our industry a little bit. And I'd say the analog actually for us is how do we use something like self-order kiosks or an app or loyalty to plug into guest data to then upsell, for example. Because again, that goes back to simplifying the life for the team member. How do we simplify the life for the team member, the franchisee? And then ultimately, when we think about kind of poor customer service, if you can simplify the life for the team member, you can send them to the front of the house. You can send them to actually go talk to the guest and recover a bad incident if you have a bad incident.
And I was just, maybe one other thing I'd offer, to do that, you have to get the data right.
Yeah.
Like really understand what are the measurements that matter to the customer to be able to, make that thing great. And so I think you need to look at both qualitative and quantitative data. Like customer surveys gave you a great example of what's broken in your process, but quantitative data, especially in chatbots, like are people engaging with it? Like, are they being contained in that experience, are more predictive in terms of how you think about, triangulating whether or not that experience is one that really is delivering.
And I think part of that is actually this wealth of information in that. So yes, the customer had a bad experience, but if you can actually quickly learn from it and ensure that the next 10 don't have, that goes to using the data proactively. Yeah. And the other thing that struck me, Sami, in your example is that I think there's many different kinds of customers. If I look at our clients who deploy technology, I see employees as customers, end customers as customers. We cater technology to sports events, fans as customers. So purchasers are customers. So I think there is a rich use of these technologies, and there are different customer personas. And your comment about the employees actually brought that home to me as well.
Totally, yeah. And Sam, something I've noticed as a customer, I think you all probably have, is that when it comes to chain food, there's so many apps now. It seems like the digital experience it's really accelerated in recent years. So how are you thinking about that for Popeyes?
Look, I think it was a big learning for us through the pandemic. And I've been in my role for about 2 years leading the brand. And what we saw kind of going into the pandemic, we went out and we talked to our guests a lot. And we say, what is holding you back from coming to Popeyes more often? And they routinely tell us, we love your food. We absolutely love your food. But I just don't see a Popeyes around me often enough. And the natural answer is, in the analog restaurant world, it's open more restaurants. And in a digital world, that answer changes a little bit. That answer has all of a sudden become, for us during COVID, it was really building a digital business from scratch, whether it was an app. It was really our third-party delivery business that really took off during COVID. And what happened there was actually interesting, was we were wondering, how do we counter this? People aren't kind of on their normal routines. And what we found is actually fried chicken, remarkably, after pizza, is one of the fastest growing and biggest categories for food delivery at home. So what we leaned into was, if there's a convenience gap, and actually people really want it, if you're at home, you can only eat so much pizza with your family. You get tired of it, so you go to typically fried chicken. And fried chicken was ultimately one of the fastest growing categories and still is the fastest growing category. And we built our delivery business around that insight. All of our marketing went towards that. And we built basically an app from scratch. And now it's about 20% of our business.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Thank you. And one important thing right now is I think that everyone pitches software as a cost-saving technology. And most of us figure that in the long run it is, but signing that initial contract can be kind of hard, right? It takes a lot of sign-offs. A lot of people have to say, oh, is this really going to work? So how do you all make sure you have internal buy-in before kind of transforming some of these processes?
Does somebody else want to start?
I was going to start with Nicole.
Okay, well, I'm happy to start. So I think as it relates to digital technology, from the C-suite to the front line, everyone has to be aligned around what it is that you're trying to accomplish and what the goals and outcomes are. And I think that the more that you adopt these kind of technologies, the easier it is to lean in and continue to use these kind of technologies. So what I might offer just around how to think about that is, and I'll start through the lens of the front line. That's where I'll focus because I think they're such an important constituents in this thing. We've really thought about how do we embed them in the design process so they can be an active part of like the creation of what it is that we're trying to achieve because they have such rich insight around customers, fallout points, where things are great. And we've also really been thoughtful around how we create champion pods, like as we're rolling things out so that they can obviously give real-time feedback as part of the continuous improvement loop for our technology teams. But importantly, what it does is it allows them to be a champion for the technology and the transformations that you're trying to create, which I think is so powerful. If you can say that this is by your peers for you and they're the active champion, it really helps with adoption.
And who are the front lines in this case? Is this like
it could be
repair
technicians
workers?
in our field organization.
Yeah.
It could be call center agents. It could be retail store agents. So really the folks who are engaging with customers day in and day out.
Awesome.
And I think one pattern we've seen across customers is, to Nicole's point, that it's the technology's role, if you're framing it as what's the business objective it's going to drive, it often tends to be much cleaner. So the example I would offer is one of the banks will have this goal of saying, look, I know I'm drowning because the set of trained agents and advisors I have, I'm trying to scale. I can't expect them to give the same quality of service. And I have one of two options. Either grow that, or can I empower the agents that I have trained or the experts that I have trained to do more? So if I'm going to go from 10,000 customers to servicing 15,000 customers, how do I arm them? And then that KPI sort of drives you. And I think that's the way, because then you have aligned the objective to a business growth initiative. You decided to grow from 10,000 to 15,000. Okay, this now technology enables you to do that. And I think that kind of framing is obviously unique to every one of our customers, but that framing really helps drive that motion.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think our business is similar in the sense that we're trying to look at that ROI a lot of the times. I think the ROI for us is a little bit different because we're trying to, we're a fully franchised system. Yeah. So we have 3,000 restaurants here in the US, and we're trying to convince franchisees ultimately to really make the investment. And ultimately, these are, in a lot of cases, they are mom and pop entrepreneurs who, in the restaurant business, you are managing to a slim margin, and it's a tough business. And so technology ROIs are critical, right? It comes down to dollars and cents. But ultimately, I think what we've seen is that success in digital sort of begets success. And so when we've as I mentioned, we launched this app. It has been, we launched loyalty on top of it. We then built first-party delivery, third-party delivery, and you keep adding features to it, and they see the success and they want to invest more. And our franchisees have seen that, and now you're seeing it across the industry. You see, folks in our industry who started at no digital sales, and now a lot of folks are upwards at half their sales are coming through digital channels. And so there's I think, a lot of momentum in this space, and I think you'll continue to see that investment, even and maybe more so as times get a little tougher.
Yeah, no, that's huge. And I think we all know one of the number one questions whenever we talk about automation is headcount, right? Can one person now do the job of 3? Are the robots taking our jobs, right? So how are you all seeing it in your organizations? I mean, has automation allowed you to, use less workers, to, be able to be more efficient with everyone's time?
So maybe the thing I'd start with is, what are you using technology for? Kind of the conversation we were having. In our space, we really want to use technology to power human-centered outcomes. So really, how do we use technology to support our people, to make them more efficient, to make them more of an expert, and to give them more time to actually be their amazing selves on the phone, engaging with our customers. And so what we are working on is, how do you take simple tasks and automate those so that you could have experts or frontline people really lean into the more complex or value-added services. And so we're seeing that adoption take place. And an example of that, maybe just to contextualize it for folks, is in our field organization, we're one of the largest vehicle fleets in the United States, which is interesting given we're a connectivity customer. But we send technicians all over the United States to repair and install services. And so we've used automation to essentially automate the dispatch flow so that we can have our technicians have less screen time driving between jobs, which ultimately allows us to get to more jobs a day, higher quality customer experiences. And so it's a virtuous cycle.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I'd add to that that's exactly what we see in our business as well, is that it's not about, I think people hear automation and think, oh, this is about taking labor out. It's really about redeploying labor, right? And so we see pretty routinely when we add something like a self-order kiosk to a restaurant, you just take the team member from behind the counter. They're behind a register in the past, and now they're just up at the kiosk, and they're helping guide the guests through that. And I think what we see a lot of the time, and we have tons of data, often powered by these folks, and we look at that data and we see that when someone, people have great experiences and poor experiences in our restaurant, and when someone has a poor experience in our restaurant, a great customer service interaction can totally change that. You may get food that's a little bit cold, or you may get food that takes a little bit longer than it should have, but a really friendly team member who interacts with you directly can absolutely salvage that. So that's what we're trying to do, is make the back of house easier so the team members can get to the front.
And I think the pattern applies, that sort of the synergy between automation and better customer experience. Because if you use technology and automation to enable the people who are engaging with their customers to be effective, productive, quick to respond, you are empowering them to actually give you customer service. So I think there's two elements of this. Can I empower the customer to get answers quickly? That's the extreme automation. They don't have to talk to me. They have a simple question, let me get the answer. But I think the next thing is, yes, they are talking to somebody, they're interfacing with a human being in my organization. I want to make that human being the best empowered possible, because then they're going to maybe. So to me, automation and better customer experience are actually, in some respects, two sides of the same coin when you are talking about processes that touch a customer. There's pure play automation in pure back-end process improvements. But any business process that touch a customer, to me, automation and better customer experience, are just different uses of AI. But eventually, the outcome is a better customer experience.
Awesome. And so it's time for us all now to put on our hats where we speculate, where we think about what are the processes that you say, man, I want to automate this one. Or maybe it's an emerging technology that you're really excited about. Nicole, what do you hope to see in the coming years in terms of automating processes?
Well, I have grown up in a business that has been an amalgamation of mergers and acquisitions. And so we have a lot of legacy systems in our ecosystem. So honestly, one of the things that I'm most excited about is the movement of IVRs and routing into cloud, because I think it allows you then to really open your mind to how different types of analytics use cases can come to life to pair customers and employees to create better outcomes. It gives you much more efficiency in terms of call delivery. I actually know who's available versus having to predict where that's going to happen. And I think sort of the opportunities are endless to really optimize value creation.
Awesome.
And I think from a technology perspective, I think we're rapidly seeing, some of the technologies that Nicole mentioned, like understanding of data, natural language processing, speech technology. They're really at such an inflection point in their capability that I think as organizations get their back-end systems in place, the world is the oyster to really scale with better customer experience. So I would almost argue that I think the technology capability is ahead of deployment often because you need the right base to deploy. And the base is often some of the things we're talking about: get the data right, get the back-end integrations done. And so from an IBM perspective, one of the things we see is since we offer both technology and consulting, we see that marriage, that our technology, we're able to go in, okay, here's what the AI can do, here's what my data platform can do, but our consulting is about working with the customers to take them on that journey. And that marriage, I think, is being crucial to scale better AI-powered customer experience.
With stuff when it comes to like natural language processing, significantly better AI chatbots, things like that, when do you see that becoming more common throughout the economy? You're saying the deployment isn't quite there yet.
I think it's a matter of, like I said, it's for this to go back to business ROI, it has to be that you have rolled this into your business processes at a level that the data that you need to train the system, the data that you need to continue to evolve the system, the data that you need to move from the incident management domain to some other domain, that has to become easy because it's always a journey. So I think that scale up will happen is actually less dependent on whether the technology can do it or not, but is more dependent on are you figuring out the right journey of the technology through your organization. And I think as more organizations get comfortable with what that means for them, I think we'll see the scale up. And things like the move to a hybrid cloud, move to the cloud, allows you to basically allow other providers to handle a lot of the technology. You focus on your business and business process. So I think to us, AI and cloud go hand in hand because to some extent the journey to a cloud allows you to more quickly adopt AI into your business process.
Awesome. What do you think, Sami? What do you see in the future? Let us in.
Well, I mean, this is going to sound very basic relative to my colleagues here, but I think that's a really interesting point because I sort of view our business as kind of maybe the consumer end of a lot of what you're talking about. And I think our industry, which has historically been a little bit slow, I think, to adopt some of these technologies, is moving very fast right now. And so, we're talking about delivery drones. We're talking about all sorts of things like AI-enabled drive-throughs, and but I think it has to be on sort of a back-end foundation that works better. And so the thing practically that I'm excited about and spending a lot of time on is we're rolling out our own point-of-sale system. And because we know that to do all of these amazing things, we're going to need to own the back end. And so we're testing our own point of sale that's going to form sort of the foundation for things like AI voice ordering or cameras that can detect, for example, if you order a chicken sandwich and someone forgets to put the fries in the bag, the camera can tell you, right? But to do that, you need the foundation of a strong point of sale system.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I want us all to close off on that image of the drone coming to deliver you the chicken sandwich. Nicole Rafferty, Sriram Raghavan, and Sami Siddiqui, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.